Thank you guys so much for joining me for this video. While you're here, please make sure to like the video, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into this recap of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 23, Holt, Her Accountable. So the episode starts off, it was a continuation with Mel, Kiki, and and that drug test child. So we know that at first Kiki was like, I'm not taking no test. Is Marcel gonna take a lie detector test? And said, yeah, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. But Kiki ended up taking the test and passed. Now, folks is giving the test the side eye based off of comments that I've seen on social media. Because number one, they're saying, well, she took the test at a storage unit in the bathroom. And look, you can use the bathroom and your urine can be used even if it's at a storage unit. But a lot of people are tripping because when Mel started running down the names of everything that it showed Kiki was negative from, she also said methadone. So people are wondering, well, if Kiki is currently on methadone, how did it say she was negative for methadone? Now, I don't know about anything like that. There were a couple people that were in the comments that were saying that methadone only stays in your system for a couple days. I think I read 72 hours or something like that. And that could be the reason why she said negative. Congratulations to Kiki nonetheless. I do have a few cuties though that have gone through methadone treatment. So if you guys know, drop down in the comments and let us know if that is the case, where it only stays in your system a couple days and that's how it could have been negative. Like I said, I don't know. But Mel then asked them, well, why are you guys moving again? What are you guys doing up here? And Kiki said that thought it would be a good idea for their oldest son, if they move, so he can possibly get a few scholarships, basically in a better school district. So we know that that happens throughout the country. People will move to better school districts in order for their kids to have a better chance at education, number one, but also scholarships. But Mel was like, well, that's not what Tiffany is saying. She said that Tiffany was basically saying that there was some shady stuff going on when it comes to Kiki and trying to get their son in this new school district. Now, my question is, how would Tiffany know? Or could it be because Big Lou is a coach and that's how Tiffany would know anything about Kiki moving to a new district? That part was a little puzzling to me. Tiffany is not in the school, educational system as a teacher or anything like that. So, child, is Tiffany just out here in everybody's business? But Kiki and said, no, that's really not the case. Next scene was Marcel and Tisha. They are going to the beach. Seemed like to me Marcel was just not really trying to go, especially for 5 days. And a quick trip, that's a lot. If it was supposed to be a quick trip, I like to go and be out of places sometimes in 3 days max. But when you're spending time with your family and all of that, 5 days is not really a lot. But Marcel and Tisha talk about the barbecue. You guys know the whole splash in the face, child, that we just cannot get enough of. And Marcel also spoke about his moment with Stormi. Now, this was my thing about that. He mentioned how he got up and had a talk with her and all of that. Tisha said, yeah, seems like that she forgave you or whatever the case may be. But I think if Marcel can have compassion for Stormi and Stormi's friend who was using, surely he and Tisha could show a little more compassion when it comes to Tisha's own family member. So that part I just don't understand. But hey, that is what it is. They then get into talking about the Expo meeting. And Marcel told Tisha that she really wasn't too receptive to opinions at that meeting. Tisha said that she was. He said that she was not. They went back and forth about the whole accountability thing and all of that. And Tisha, we all witnessed that you really weren't too receptive to criticism, especially when it came from Melody Cherie. But Marcel really let her know, no, you were not receptive to what Mel was saying, as far as her saying that that event was disorganized. Tisha eventually tried to take some accountability. And for me, there really should be no discussion about if the Expo was organized or not, because had it been organized, we would not still be talking about that $100. If it was organized, everybody would have known up front what they had to pay, how much space their little area would have been, and all of that. So it was disorganized. Next scene was Mel at home organizing, key word, and planning out her name-changing ceremony. And her event planner showed up to take a look at the yard, to take pictures and all of that. The event planner said that she really wanted to have Mel's maiden name and lights in the yard. And I think that that's going to be really cute. Can't wait to see it. But then Miss Van showed up. And it was so good seeing Miss Van. Now, I looked and looked and looked. The first half of the season was a little upset because all we got was a glimpse of Miss Van at that birthday party. But other than that, we had not seen her. But she showed up. She was tired, child, because she said she had to drive for 4 hours. But her and Mel sat down to talk about the name change ceremony and actually if Mel was approved to go back to her maiden name. So Mel let Miss Van know that she hasn't even opened up the letter that will tell her if they approved it or not. And Miss Van was shocked, but Mel said, let me go ahead and go get it. So she went and got the letter and opened it, and it was approved, and it was so emotional. Miss Van teared up. Mel, it seems like, was trying to hold back the tears, but that is a cause to be emotional. Now, in Mel's confessional, she stated that she had a lot of hopes and dreams when it came to the last name Holt and taking it on when she married Martell. But she did say that going back to Rogers feels liberating, feels peaceful and free and easy, and she is looking forward to bringing honor to her maiden name. She's gone through a whole lot with that last name Holt, so I cannot wait to see the ceremony, and congratulations to Mel. But it was absolutely beautiful. It really was. Seeing Mel and Miss Van just having a mama-daughter moment. It really was. And I'm sure that this decision was not easy for Mel because her kids are carrying on the last name Holt. So I'm sure it wasn't easy, but it was absolutely the right decision if you ask me. Especially with how the ex-husband, whose name is Holt, is carrying on out here in these streets. But anyway, the next scene was Stormi going over to Kiki's house. So Kiki is there. She's cleaning up. Stormi walks on in through the garage and she asks Kiki, well, why did you move? And Kiki basically told her the same thing that she told Mel, so her son can get these scholarships. Then they get into the discussion of the barbecue. And Stormi said that it seemed like Tisha ignoring Kiki is what really set it off. And Kiki agreed. Kiki said that it was a trigger for her. Kiki also said that she's sure that Marcel and Tisha planned that. And I'm going to have to agree with Kiki, guys. It just seems like that Tisha and Marcel was on one accord while they were sitting at that table. Neither of them acknowledged her. Neither of them even looked her way. And that did seem like it was planned in advance. Look, when we get over here, don't say anything to her. Don't address her. Don't acknowledge her. None of that. And the problem with that is, to me, you guys acknowledge her husband, and I just think it was rude to not at least acknowledge her. And I think that had they done that, I don't think we would have saw that splash, child. I can't even call it a splash. That water in that cup, I mean, it just seemed like it was endless. But anyway, Kiki and Stormi started joking about how Kiki snatched those cards out of Stormi's hands, and Kiki did apologize to Stormi for doing it. But Kiki went on to talk to Stormi, and when I tell you guys, when she called Marcel Tisha's wife, I cackled. But baby, when she called him Madam Marcel, I could not stop laughing. Look, we got bottom row so, we got legs, hips, and body yaddy, and now we got Madam Marcel. Absolutely hilarious. But Kiki went on in a more serious way in talking to Stormi, and she said that she loves Tisha so much, and she really wishes that she didn't. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this. It is time for Kiki to love Tisha, or for the both of them to love each other from a distance. It's time. Because for me, no matter who it is, if a person is causing you all of this pain, let them go. Save yourself the hassle and the headache, even if it's family. That does not mean you don't love them. That just means that you stepping all the way out of the foolishness. But Kiki tells Stormi basically that Tisha is stupid. She refuses to accept the truth when it comes to Madam Marcel and yada, yada, yada. Now, Kiki, I'm just going to give my advice. Going forward, after this season, let it go. No matter what you may think or any of us or anybody feels when it comes to Tisha and Marcel's marriage, I think it's time just to go ahead and just move on past that. Because we see, especially with this whole makeup artist mess and this whole threesome mess and all of that, we see that somehow that has all turned right back on you. And in order to prevent that, just my advice, I wouldn't say a damn thing about Tisha and Marcel. I would focus on my story, my family, my kids. That's it. That's all. But anyway, I guess since Mel told Kiki what Tiffany said about her, Kiki said, well, let me go ahead and tell Stormi what Tiffany said about her. So they talk about Tiffany's interview with Carlos King and how Tiffany was shady. And she was. Now look, I know you guys remember when Carlos and Dustin Ross were reviewing the reunions, and I really love what Dustin had to say about Tiffany during that sit down that they had together. He said that he just saw Tiffany being, a little messy, and I think Tiffany has just taken that baby and just ran with it. Again, I think Tiffany is just messy on her own. Too messy. But Kiki told Stormi that Tiffany was speaking bad about Stormi's products. And she said that Tiffany said that Stormi's products weren't safe. Now, I don't remember seeing that on the show. If any of you know, please direct me to the episode. Or was that just what Tiffany said during that interview with Carlos? Because I really don't remember her saying it there. So if you guys know, drop down in the comments and let me know that. But Stormi seemed unbothered with what Kiki said to her. And she said, well, I'll just see what Tiffany has to say to my face. So child, will Tiffany get active if need be? I guess we shall see. But this next scene irked me. It was Mel, Tisha, and Kimmy showing up to go through some exercises with Mel's trainer. And it was so awkward. Mel got there first, and child, when Tisha pulled up, Mel was like, "Hey, Tisha." Tisha didn't say a damn thing, you hear me? And the energy was thick. They even showed how awkward it was with Mel and Tisha standing outside waiting for Kimmy to arrive. But Mel's trainer looks great. I'm sure you guys remember seeing her on Mel's Instagram page, and I believe she's in her 70s. She looks great. She put them through a couple exercises. Naturally, they were concerned about Kimmy, making sure that she was okay. And Kimmy shared that she gets really winded, I guess due to her breast cancer journey. But she stated that she is working on that at home with breathing treatment. So now it is time for them to get down to do what we know they came there to do, and that is talk about the barbecue. So Kimmy leads the discussion, and she wanted to see how Tisha was feeling. Tisha said how Kiki acted is the reason why she cut Kiki off before. And I remember the story. I believe that, I'm not sure who Tisha gave an interview to, but I remember Tisha talking about how when she was pregnant, that Kiki popped off on her like this. But Tisha said that this is the reason why she cut her off before. And I'm not really mad with what Tisha is saying. As I mentioned, even with family, sometimes you gotta do it. So I'm not mad at all. I hope Tisha go her separate way. That way that will keep Marcel from talking about Kiki, hopefully, and Wanda and anybody else. You know, just sever ties and go on and live life. But this is what I did not like with what Tisha said. She said again how Kiki is still using. Now, Tisha, if you have no proof that Kiki is still using, you really need to stop saying that, because like you said, you don't like folks talking about your marriage with no proof of whether Marcel is doing this or has done that, and it's really the same thing. So if you don't have any proof, I could care less if, as a family, you all are sitting back and talking about that Kiki may be still using. If you don't have the proof, then the same thing applies. Let it go. But I was wondering in that moment why Mel didn't tell Tisha, well, you know what? Speaking of Kiki still using, she's not, because we just did a test and she passed on everything. So maybe they're holding that information for Kiki to say it to Tisha and Marcel. I'm not sure. But other than that, as far as Tisha telling them that Kiki is still using, seems like to me that's all Tisha wanted to say in that scene. Mel asked, was there anything that happened before the barbecue to cause all of this? And Tisha was not trying to hear it. She said, I'm about to go. Mel said it had to be something that happened before. Tisha, I'm about to go. So we know what the before was. The before was the makeup artist stuff, the threesomes and all of that. And Tisha definitely did not want to discuss that on camera, I'm assuming. Now, I'm confused because Tisha, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to say allegedly, is the one that asked Kiki to find this stuff out. And if you wanted her to find it out, at least have her back when she bring the stuff back to you. So for you to just then shut Kiki down, shut any conversation down, period, that's just not right to me. But anyway, Tisha gets up and leaves, child, and that leaves Mel and Kimmy, and they both say this is still an issue with Tisha, and obviously it is. But let's go ahead and get into this last scene, which is the man-child that is also known as Martell Holt. Martell goes over to the Fletcher's home. He went over there bearing 2 bottles of Inez wine for Chris. Chris was not there. And child, Chris probably ran. I'm sure Chris is so frustrated with Martell in this moment because we know, allegedly, Martell was still squatting in that home. But Nell Fletcher was there. She was out doing some watering of her plants, and her and Martell get to talking. So they spoke about the barbecue as well. Nell said that she noticed that Martell spoke and Mel didn't, and she said that she told Mel that she should have spoken. Martell basically said, yeah, because we all good. She don't act like that around anybody else. And Nell was like, well, do you think it's just me and Fletcher, or do you think it's the group as a collective? And Martell said the group as a collective. So he mentioned how when they are at Tank's baseball games that Mel would sit near him, not exactly by him, but she does speak. I call that co-parenting if it's true. I don't even know. But then Nell starts to speak about the name-changing ceremony, and she told Martell about it, and she said that she is going. Martell seemed a little shocked to hear, about the ceremony or whatever. He did seem a little sad to me. He said, oh yeah, well that means that it's really real. And yeah, buddy, it is real. Your ex-wife don't want to be walking around representing you in any way, shape, or form. But Nell said that she's going. She said it's hard being the both of their friends, meaning he and Mel. And Mr. Manchild, Martell, he feels like his friends should not attend. And that's so immature to me. Because, like Nell said, they are the both of their friends. And this is what I thought about. I'm sure Mel didn't say that to the Fletchers when they were out with Martell and Sheree. We all saw pictures of them hanging out together. Martell seems to think that the only reason that Mel wants them at her name-changing ceremony is because she's being spiteful. So, Martell, were you spiteful when you invited them to your wine tasting event? Were you spiteful when you invited them to hang out with you and Sheree? Did you do that just to get a rise out of Mel? Because, hey, if she's being spiteful, you're being spiteful as well. So I just cannot. But Mr. Man then tried to act unbothered, and he said, well, she didn't do anything amazing with Rogers. And I just got a question for him. Did the name alone, did Holt do the work when he and Mel were married, when he and Mel became multi-millionaires? Was it the last name Holt or was it the woman? I would say the woman. And if it was the woman, Martell, that means no matter what last name Mel had, she was doing amazing things. So again, man, child, I'm just so over Martell. So let's go ahead and get on right back into this conversation. They get into this whole cheating thing. And Martell, on his quest to prove that Mel cheated first, tells Nell that Mel cheated on him multiple times. Nell said, I just cannot believe that. And he said, why? Y'all women need to stop that. She cheated. My question to Martell is, Martell, you weren't saying all of this in the earlier seasons. And you wouldn't be saying it now had Mel not divorced you. But he told Nell, yeah, she cheated with multiple men and threw a tantrum, if you ask me. The man started yelling and screaming, and he was very theatrical, and he said, I got proof. I got another question for him. Martell, could it be the proof that you gave coleslaw to release, which was actually you? Could it be the proof when you stalked Mel and you went to that restaurant and took video of her and the guy there that she was having lunch with? Could it be the proof when Mel said you showed up at a restaurant and showed your arse? You remember, because you guys made a scene about it, and that's when Mel told you, I'm not your woman no more. You can't be showing up and clowning. Is that the proof, Martell? Because if so, you guys were separated. He wants everybody to turn against Mel for his reasons and not their own reasons. And that's so petty and immature to me. But he basically told Nell Fletcher, you need to ask her. So he wants Nell to confront Mel, which is crazy. But here's what I didn't like about their scene. First of all, let me say Nell Fletcher got some patience, baby. Because I probably would have just went in the house and closed the door. But what I didn't like was the yelling. There is no respect when it comes to Martell speaking to women and yelling at women. It's like nothing triggers him to say, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be yelling. Because he can say the same thing, but just not in that way. And we know that we've seen Marceau do the same thing. I just don't get it. Is this normal in Alabama for men to yell at women like that? I don't know. But another comical part in this scene that I almost forgot about is when Martell said, I haven't cheated on nobody in 3 years. And Nell just looked at him like, you couldn't be serious. She said, well, you are single. And I just had to say, thank you, Nell. You're single. You're no longer married. So do you. But you were doing you while you were married. And that's what led to the divorce. So he acted like he was really saying something. I ain't been messing around. And we know that that's a lie as well. I mean, I don't consider it cheating because, again, he is single. But the man has been with Sheree. The man was with Belinda. The man was hugged up with another chick in Atlanta. You're cheating on somebody, buddy. But it does not register like it did when you were married. That's the difference. But look, Nell was so happy to see Martell get in that truck and go. She walked away and threw her hands up in the air. And I threw my hands up as well because look, you definitely have to have a lot of patience talking to Martell. If we just think back, this scene with he and Nell has been going on with anybody that will film with Martell. It's draining. But anyway, that is the end of the episode. It looks like Nell was not too happy about the yelling that Mr. Martell did because we see in the preview next week, she will be telling her husband, Chris Fletcher. And I can't wait to see what Fletcher is going to have to say about Mr. Martell Holt yelling at his wife. Look, I like Nell. I said this before. She is a little firecracker and she gonna pop off. And guess what? She gonna pop off next week at their home because they are sitting down with their kids and baby Nell screamed to one of them, shut the hell up. And I cracked the hell up. It was so funny to me. So kudos to Carlos for giving us more of Chris and Nell Fletcher. Now, I do want you guys to scroll back through my videos because I said this months and months ago. So I'm glad to see them, especially Nell Fletcher, even Chris as well. Chris has been standing his ground when it comes to Martell. So kudos to the both of them for not doing what this man wants them to do, and that's be on his side only. But that's it. That's all, guys. That is my recap again on Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 23, Holt, Her Accountable. But you guys, drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Please also, before you go, make sure to like the video, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. Chat with you guys soon.